Hello and welcome. You're watching a special on NDTV Profit. Now, in a post that went viral on social media recently, it was being said that almost a third of all students from IIT Bombay, from the previous batch and the currently outgoing one, were struggling to find jobs. Now, eventually the college did come out and clarify that only about 6.1% students from the previous batch are still looking for jobs. For this year, it said that placements is still an ongoing process and it's refused to give out numbers of the number of students it's managed to place so far. Still, the group of colleges we're talking about is pretty much India's answer to the Ivy League, and any such debate does throw light on the state of campus placements and fresher hirings this year. It's indeed been a challenging year. The job listings portal indeed also has some data that indicates that fresher hiring has in fact been on a downward trend since the pandemic. Since December 2021, fresher job postings have declined by about 8.5% and job clicks have declined by almost about 34%. For more such trends, I'm in conversation with Mr. Sashi Kumar, the head of sales at Indeed India. So thank you so very much for taking time out for us today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being on this report.
So, to start with, I do want to get some sense of what fresher hiring has been. Any insights you can give on that? We do know that according to a report put together by your team, it's been a little bit of a downward trend the past couple of years or so. What are you making of the current year campus placements as well as fresher job listings on your portal? Is it looking up?
So definitely it's been a challenging year. I think in the last year, because of the landscape that we saw develop both within India and abroad, we saw a decline in number of freshers being hired by companies. Multiple reasons. One, obviously there was a decline in the number of open roles. Companies are looking for closer match in terms of skills, and sometimes there is a gap between the kind of skills that people bring and the skills that companies need. Plus, we are seeing increased use of technology within companies, which also contributed to what we saw in the last year.
Okay, all right. I do want to ask you how much of this has to do, like you've mentioned, the global economy. The word hiring freeze appears to come up a lot in our conversation of late when we talk about campus placements as well as fresher hiring. So is it more to do with how the outlook in European companies is, or the volatility or the uncertainty in the US economy? And the reason I'm asking that is because here in India, while some sectors of course are very closely linked to how the global economy performs, the Indian economy has been particularly resilient. So how does one sort of make sense of this juxtapositioning that's taking place?
I think you're absolutely right. The Indian economy is doing fairly well. So this decline that we see in fresher hirings can be seen as a bit of a temporary setback because of multiple factors. Factor number one was overhiring during the pandemic years. Most companies, specifically in the tech world, overhired. And as you all know that the tech companies make up a significant part of the campus hiring and the fresher hiring that happens in this country. So that has been one reason. Two, for a lot of the companies that are hiring for IT professionals, their major market is outside of India, in Europe and in US. And we saw a cooling off there and also a reduced spend by companies in those markets on IT and IT services, which sort of translated downstream in terms of the number of roles that were open both within freshers and in sort of, the experience sector, but primarily within the fresher market.
Okay, and what's the impact been on median pay? Is there any data that suggests that there's been a little bit of a downward pressure in terms of the pay packages as well? Because that is something we've been hearing a lot from students we've been interacting with across campuses and across streams. So is that, sort of validated in any way by any data?
So we don't have very specific data around what those pays could look like. But you have to understand that pay is a sort of outcome of demand and supply.
Sure.
And when there is a mismatch between a demand for jobs and the supply of jobs, there is bound to be some sort of impact on pay as well. But broadly, we don't see any sort of specific numbers that either validate or challenge that claim.
Got it. Also, how does one read this with the broader job market trends? Is the market for experienced hires better? At what experience level is the market better? Could you share any insights on that as well?
So the broader job market seems to be performing relatively better compared to the fresher market. While there are challenges and shifts in the job market, the broader job market, including all roles, including entry level, etc., broadly seems to be more stable and doing well as compared to entry level roles. Specifically for senior roles, we have actually seen a marginal increase in the number of roles that have been opened and number of roles that have been hired for. I think this is primarily due to the economic factors and trends which are pertaining to certain skill requirements. Companies may not have hired as many new talent, but definitely in the mid and the senior levels, we've seen a slight increase in the number of people that people have hired.
Okay, and you've touched upon some of the industries which aren't particularly looking up in terms of hiring, IT, for instance, the tech space that you spoke about. But what about the other industries, and which are the industries that are performing relatively better and hiring?
Yeah, from a fresh graduate perspective, I think industries like admin, sales, and marketing are performing fairly well. In fact, the report that we put out actually highlights that for fresher hiring within the admin sector has gone up by 11.5%, specifically for fresher roles. So also followed by tech and software. While tech and software has been the backbone and we've seen some dip, they continue to be hiring in decent numbers considering the situation. We've also seen marketing and management roles doing relatively okay. Whereas sectors like human resources, education, etc., have seen a bit of a dip as far as fresher hiring is concerned.
And do these trends also have to do with how we've seen some startups perform the past couple of years or so? There has been a little bit of funding winter there, and while that may be changing, that's happening at a very slow pace, any signs of improvement. So, I mean, I'm just trying to understand to what extent are these factors, the decline in fresher hiring, to what extent is it cyclical, and can we expect things to improve going forward?
No, I think we can absolutely expect things to improve. If you were to look at the India Skills Report, they indicate there's a positive hiring intent for early career professionals. Most companies, basis that report, reported that they expect that there'll be a 16% increase in new hires for freshers in the coming year. GCCs plan to hire 50% more, the Global Capability Centers, which is essentially the offices, the R&D and back offices of large global corporations. They plan to hire 50% more freshers in the coming year than they did in the previous year. This came out of Ernst & Young's report that came out recently. So this is cyclical. We will be, and in fact, I think we are slowly coming to the end of this sort of bottom, and we will be seeing many green shoots and resumption of hiring as far as freshers are concerned as we head into financial year 2024.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out for us. This was indeed a most interesting conversation, and it's good to be signing off on a slightly more positive note considering how sober the placement season across some colleges and across streams appears to have been. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out.
Thank you so much. Wonderful speaking to you as well.
Same here. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit for our continuing coverage on the placement season and how that's coming up across colleges and streams in India.